Hi there guys, and welcome back once again to Jonesy's Question Time. It's been quite a few weeks since I last did one of these, and for this episode I'm kind of doing it more quick style, and I've been accepting kind of any questions again. I don't want to say I'm wiping the slate clean, because there are a lot of questions already that I've kind of answered once or twice before, but it's kind of for those who maybe haven't watched this series before or are new to the channel. Basically from now on, just again send any questions you like in. It doesn't matter what it's about, doesn't matter whether it's about what I like to eat for Sunday lunch, or what I like to sing at karaoke, or what's my favourite t-shirt, whatever, just ask whatever you want. There's kind of no holds barred. So for this one, earlier today, I just put out a tweet just asking for people to send questions in, and I got a lot of different kind of random ones in. So I also want to point out, I'm sorry it's been like over a week since I've uploaded any content, but for this past week I've basically been dying from a chest infection, and it has been really, really terrible. I've literally, for 3 days, I hardly got out of bed. I had literally no energy, I couldn't move, and the amount of coughing that I was doing was just ridiculous, and I don't even want to talk about the things that came out of my mouth for that last week. So I am still just getting over it, so you might just hear it in my voice, or I might have to stop every now and then, but I am pretty much over it now, and I'm going to be getting back to hopefully a more regular schedule. But anyway, let's kick it off. So what inspired you to start following Leeds United? Inspired me, it took me a while to get into football. In the beginning, it wasn't until the age of sort of 6 that I really started getting an interest. And I mean, inspired, it was basically down to my dad and my brother, really. A little bit from my mum, but not that much. She used to go to Leeds United games with my dad, although predominantly, her family, her dad was from Bradford, they were Bradford City fans, so predominantly she is a Bradford City fan first and foremost, but she does obviously have a soft spot for Leeds. She's lived here a lot of her life, and she did go to games for quite a while actually, but yeah, it was mainly my dad and my brother, and I think for quite a while they'd been trying to get me to go to a game, but I wasn't really interested. And then in the 96-97 season, I went to my first match then. So what inspired me really was my dad and my brother. What's your favourite car? My favourite car, it's kind of stereotypical one when people talk about like having favourite cars. It's a classic kind of British one. It's a James Bond style. It's Aston Martin. I love those cars. I mean, I'm not a really big car buff. I'm not one of these blokes who absolutely loves everything about cars, and once they own it, they class it as the baby, and they look after it, and they wash it every single day, and they know every ins and outs of it and everything. I'm not that into cars, but if I sort of, won the lottery, my kind of first go-to car would have to be an Aston Martin. My favourite is either probably an Aston Martin. I do like the V8 Vantage, I must admit. I've always been a fan of that. Or the DB9 is a gorgeous one as well. But in general, I do like my Aston Martins, and of course my current car, my little Fiat 500, little Fran. I've got to give a mention to Fran there. So yeah, my kind of all-time favourite car is definitely an Aston Martin. What music are you currently listening to? Currently, I mean, I'm always listening to all kinds of music, but at the moment, the other day at work, me and Lee discovered a guy called Papa Chubby, who is basically a blues artist. He's the most amazing guitarist, a really, really great guitarist. He's got a great blues voice. It's a really relaxed feel to his music and his style of playing. It's something you can just kind of put on in the background and just enjoy, and it just kind of calms you down a bit. It's nice and relaxing. He's absolutely massive. He's a very, very big guy, but it doesn't stop him in performing. He's really, really great. And like I say, I discovered him the other day, but been listening to one of his albums, sort of a best of album, and yeah, really, really enjoying him. Another band who, well, I've been listening to since I saw them at Slam Dunk, but I'm listening to them a lot more consistently at the moment, and that's a band called Survey Says. If you're into your pop punk and ska kind of music, then this band are really fantastic. They're a great young upcoming band from America, and I really do hope that they do well. You know, they deserve to. They've got this great kind of unique kind of style and sound to them, actually. It's ska and pop punk is unfortunately a genre that's kind of, I don't want to say it's dying out. It's not, because there's tons of people out there that do still love it and will still go watch it, but it doesn't quite get the audience it deserves. And I think a band like this coming through, showing so much potential. I mean, they were great last year at Slam Dunk, and playing first on the stage that they were. You know, usually people aren't really too bothered, but you could see that people were really getting into it. So yeah, if you're into that kind of music, or even if you're not, just go give them a listen, especially their recent album, the most recent one. I think it's Observation of the Human Mind, possibly. I may have got the title of the album wrong, but yeah, it really is fantastic. They're really great guys as well, really down to earth, got some great lyrics behind the music as well.
I can give myself a chance, get in the right zone. I have way too many friends to feel this alone, and maybe.
So they're worth a listen to. And Area 11 are a band that I absolutely love. Going to see them later this month in Manchester. If you're into your kind of rock, a little bit of kind of heavy metal in there thrown in, a little bit of techno, and also a little bit of kind of Asian style thrown in there as well. Really, really great band. A band from Bristol, again a young band. Definitely worth your listen. What year, game and result was your first game watching Leeds United? Well, like I just mentioned, my first game was in the 96-97 season when Leeds played Everton at Ellen Road, and the game, I believe, finished 1-0. And I spent years and years and years thinking that David Weatherall had scored the goal, when actually looking back at the stats on the internet, it actually turns out it was Robert Molyneux. Which kind of, it didn't spoil things, but I've gone around for ages saying, oh yeah, my first ever goal at Ellen Road that I saw was a David Weatherall header, and it wasn't. It was a mighty Robert Molyneux header, actually. So that was my first game. Like I say, it was 96-97. I think it was in the 97 part of the season, but although I'm not 100% sure about that. But yeah, that was the first game that I went to, so it was a win, so it was a good first game to see. And then I saw the last game of the season where we actually relegated Middlesbrough that year. And I remember being really upset for them, because I was just getting into football at that time, and I thought that relegation was like the most terrible, horrible thing in the world, and that, you know, this team would never be seen again. So yeah, that was my first game, and I got my first season ticket the very year after. Xbox or PlayStation? Well, for me, I mean, I'm not one to get into the whole console wars. I've never really quite understood it, and I don't understand why fanboys kind of stick to still doing it now. I find it a bit sad and pathetic, really. For me, I mean, I've always been a PlayStation player. I've always had a PlayStation. You know, I had the original PlayStation, and when that broke, I got the PS1, and then had a PS2. I've had a PS3, and I've still got all those consoles, although the PS1 and, like I say, the PlayStation is broken. But I still have my PS2. I've still got my PS3 set up in my room, and my PS4. You know, I've always liked them, and it's never been a case of, oh, I really hate Xbox. It was just a case of that was my first console, the PlayStation, so I just kind of stuck to what I knew. And I've just always liked the style of the PlayStation. I've liked the way it's set out. I've always really liked the controller and the setup and everything. And it wasn't until last year that I got my first Xbox 360 console. And again, that's a good console as well, and the Xbox consoles in general are great consoles. For me personally, I will always kind of favour PlayStation over Xbox, But I don't get the whole, if you got a PlayStation, you got a hit on Xbox. If you got an Xbox, you've got a hit on PlayStation kind of thing. Because they really are both great consoles, and they've both got the good points, they've both got the bad points. But yeah, for me, I will always kind of favour the PlayStation. What's currently in front of you? Well, currently in front of me is my setup, basically my computer. I've got my computer screen, my keyboard, I've got my microphone, I've got the actual computer stack, of course, and I've got my speakers, and I've got my headphones, and I've got all my DVDs as well, actually. I've got my sort of Doctor Who shelf on the top, and then all my other DVDs and games below that. But it's a funny thing that you should ask that question, actually, because I'm actually currently planning doing a kind of recording / gaming setup video where I'm going to talk you through all the recording equipment I use, all the editing stuff that I use, sort of go through the style and the way that I edit things as well, look at the cameras, the microphone and everything. So yeah, if you're interested in stuff like that, then there is a video coming up probably over the next week or so, just because it's something people have always kind of asked about. I of course did my room tour earlier this year, but I didn't go into specifics and details about things there. So yeah, coming up this week at some time will be sort of a more in-depth look at my setup and everything. So funny coincidence that question should come up, actually. What's your favourite and worst away ground? My favourite ground to visit as an away fan has always been St James's Park up at Newcastle. Not so much the atmosphere. I've always found the atmosphere from the Newcastle fans a little bit dull. I think their away, like with most teams, their away fans are better than the home fans. But as a ground, St James's Park, I absolutely love. I think it's such a unique style to it. And the fact that the away fans are so high up, it's one of the highest points I've ever been in. But I love the style of the outside of St James's Park. There's also that tradition and history there that you can kind of see, definitely around the ground anyway. But yeah, I've always loved St James's Park, so that's always going to go down as my favourite away ground. Worst away ground? There's been quite a few. The old Rotherham ground, Millmore, that was particularly bad. That was really just stepping back in a time warp and just going in this practically falling down stadium. It really wasn't well kept. I remember the away fans had to go down this very, very narrow kind of ginnel down one end of the ground, and it led to the away end, and it was just, it was horrible. That was really awful. I was so glad when that got demolished. Crewe, I'm pretty sure it isn't called Gresty Road anymore. It's probably got some sponsored name. But yeah, Crewe again isn't the greatest. I've somehow managed to visit there twice. I don't know why. But yeah, Crewe's ground isn't great either. So yeah, those are the two that kind of stick out as being really, really terrible. There's been a few that's like York, Booth and Crescent. The ground as a whole I actually quite liked because it's still a very nice traditional old stadium. But the toilets there I've never come across anything like it. It was just pissing against a wall. But yeah, I can't really use that against the ground in general because I remember Goodison Park, Everton, the toilets there were terrible when I went. So yeah, grounds as a whole, I would definitely have to say Rotherham's old ground, Millmore, and Crewe. Although years and years ago, when Man City was still at Main Road, going there when they had the kind of old temporary standing corner thing, I was unfortunate to get tickets for that part, and that was just terrible. I mean, you could hardly see much of the action. You were completely away from all the other Leeds fans, so you couldn't really get any proper singing together. And every time you kind of moved, you felt like you were going to fall through the floor, so that wasn't a great experience. So yeah, I'd probably throw that in there as well, actually, to be fair. FIFA Manager or Football Manager? I've never been a massive kind of manager game fan. Well, no, I tell a lie, because to me, going away from those two, the greatest ever Football Manager games for me were the LMA Manager series. For me, LMA Manager 2001, hands down, will always be the greatest manager game that ever existed. But out of those two, I think I've only ever played FIFA Manager once. That was quite a few years ago. And I've only owned Football Manager a couple of times, but it's always a game that I never get into it. I don't think I have like the patience and the staying power to play it like some people do. I just don't have that real raw interest in it. I mean, they are good games and they are getting better by the sounds and looks of it, and I can appreciate why people do get addicted to it. I definitely can, but I just, there's too much to it that I just feel like I can't enjoy it properly. But if I had to choose out of those two, then I would probably have to go for Football Manager. What is your current favourite TV show? As someone who doesn't watch a lot of TV, I spend most of my time either watching DVDs or YouTube. But the majority of stuff that I do watch on TV tend to be sort of comedy orientated. And at the moment, and over the past year or so, the best series on TV that I hope just keeps on going is called Alan Davis As Yet Untitled. Alan Davis, of course, the stand-up comedian, actor, and of course probably most famous for his role on QI. And he basically is sat in a table. It's kind of in the round performance where the audience are sat around the table. Obviously not on the table, but sort of behind the table and round it. And each week he just has 4 different guests on, all funny people. They're either stand-up comedians or comedy actors, or, well, they don't even have to have been, in comedy. They might just be generally funny people. And they basically just sit round and talk about anything they want, for the whole hour. And it's just really great. You hear so many great anecdotes. If you are a comedy fan, I think it's such a great, fun, relaxed kind of show to watch. And even if you're not a comedy fan and you just want something nice to watch on, because I think it goes out on like a Tuesday or Wednesday night. And it's just a fun thing, really fun thing to watch. So that's something that I really do love watching. And apart from that, at the moment, Big Bang Theory. They're on season... what are they on now? Is it season 9? Or season 8? I can't even remember what they're on now. But yeah, that's currently on. And this is actually the first time that I've been watching it whilst it's been on TV. Because I came to Big Bang Theory so late, I've constantly been on the catch-up with DVDs. But I finally managed to catch up enough that I can watch it whilst it's on TV. Although it is weird actually having to wait a week between each episode, because I've just been used to watching it sort of back to back all the time. But yeah, Big Bang Theory is just such a great show. It's got a lot of staying power to it. It's one of those that you can always go back to, very similar to Friends really. So yeah, those are the stuff that I like watching on TV at the moment. Apart from gaming content, what other things do you like to watch on YouTube? I like watching quite a few different things. I quite like watching people that do sort of vlog things and kind of a few different things. Like, obviously mainly I watch Hat Films for their gaming stuff, but they do a lot of other vlog stuff. So earlier this year they went over to LA they went for E3 and they were doing other stuff while they were over there, and they basically vlogged the whole time they were there. So watching stuff like that, watching people out and about whilst they're travelling and kind of documenting whilst they're out there, watching stuff like that is always fun. Watching people talk and discuss about various things, so like online podcasts, so the Co-optional podcast is always a fun thing to watch, or Friend Zone that's done by Polaris. That's a good thing to watch. And other things like also food stuff. There's a guy called Barry Lewis, I think it's called My Virgin Kitchen. I think he's kind of been made most famous for doing the giant food things that he does with his friend James, and they really are great. Like, if you want to have a bit of a binge watch, if you go to Barry Lewis on My Virgin Kitchen, he's got a playlist set up of giant food recipes, and oh my god, the things they make. There's been like a giant Rolo, a giant Kit Kat, a giant marshmallow, a giant cookie cup. There's just tons of them. I think it's like 20 videos in all, something like that. So yeah, stuff like that, something that's just a little bit different and something that can keep you interested. I'll watch anything on YouTube really. I really will. So it's not all gaming stuff that I watch. There's a lot of interesting YouTubers out there that people might not know exist. So there we go, guys. That's the end of this Jonesy's question time. So a little bit different in its style and its format. I think you'll agree with that. But that's the kind of style that I'm wanting to go for, and those are the kind of questions that I'm wanting. You know, a nice, broad across the spectrum kind of topics. You know, keeping the football in there, but also a lot of random stuff about the internet, about YouTube, about gaming, about life in general. You know, that's great. That's exactly what I want to see. So if you'd like to send your questions in, then please do so in the either in the comments on this very video, or you can send it to me at my Twitter at ChrisJonesLUFC using the hashtag Jonesy's questions, because it's just easier for me to keep tabs on them. And yeah, that'd be great. So send them in before next week, guys. But I always like to have a backlog of questions so I can sort of go on to it, you know, for the next couple of weeks and not have to worry about not having questions to answer. So yeah, there we go. I hope you enjoyed that, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If it's your first time here, please do leave a like and also maybe consider subscribing. That'd be very much appreciated. And until next time, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you all very soon.